We'll be ready.
Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing Dungeons & Dragons Among Thieves, which is a movie that I was not planning on seeing initially. I'm not somebody who is a big fan of D&D. I've got friends who are and have tried to persuade me in the past into playing it, and I could just never really get into it. It's not that I'm not at all into fantasy stuff. I enjoy Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and, certain video games and whatnot, but D&D itself just has never really appealed to me all that much, and so because of that and the fact that the trailers for this movie didn't really look all that good in my opinion, it kind of seemed a little bit cringy, I just wasn't planning on checking this out until I heard the extremely positive reviews. This movie has been getting very, very good word of mouth as of late. I think it has like a 90-something on Rotten Tomatoes, and it seems like overall audiences are enjoying it quite a bit, and so I decided to check it out with my friend Andrew, who, like me, is not a D&D person, and we both came out of the film really enjoying it. I think this movie was a ton of fun from start to finish. It's got some great humor, entertaining characters who I actually cared about to a degree, fun action, etc. And this is all coming from somebody who, like I said, isn't a fan of Dungeons & Dragons, and also doesn't know that much about it. This is not a movie where you need to know tons of lore and stuff on the game and all these types of creatures, you need to know all about them. You don't. This is a very easily accessible movie from start to finish. There's certainly references there for fans, but it's not like they're being crammed down your throat, and they're not ones where it's going to leave the rest of the audience feeling puzzled and confused. They're just like minor Easter eggs. So I actually had a blast with this movie, I would say, which is way more than I thought I would be getting from this film. As somebody who wasn't even planning to see it initially. As for the story, it is pretty basic and straightforward stuff. You have a group of characters who all have their different abilities and skill sets. One person is really good at planning things, one is a sorcerer, one can transform into other creatures, etc. And they're all coming together to pull off this heist, which has personal reasons for these characters. It's not just about getting loot and stuff, there is some personal reasons behind it. And that's one thing that this movie did well was, make you care about some of these characters. Not all of them, but a few of the members in the group I definitely cared about. And I really liked seeing their arc progress and just seeing how things turned out for them. I thought it was well written overall. And then, like I said, you also have the very enjoyable humor and action sequences on top of that. This movie's about 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and it's very well paced in my opinion. I never felt like it was slowing down at all. I was constantly entertained and engaged with what was going on. And I think a lot of that is just due to, like I said, the humor, which is quite funny. I mean, there's a lot of moments where I was laughing out loud. Other ones I was just kind of, chuckling internally. But majority of the time, the humor hit. Obviously, there's some jokes that don't work, but that's to be expected with, like, almost any comedy. I think if this movie had taken itself seriously, right? If it had all the same stuff going on, but the plot itself, or the way it was told, I should say, was in more of a serious matter, I don't think the film would have worked out as well as it did. I think we would have ended up with something like, I don't know, the World of Warcraft movie, which I didn't even watch because, again, not a fan of that series, but I know it has very negative reviews, and that's because it had so much lore where you needed to understand these things, and it took itself very seriously. This is the opposite. You don't need to know about the game going into it, and, the movie's just trying to have fun at the end of the day, which is what I came for, and it definitely succeeded at that. As for the cast, you got a lot of good actors here. Chris Pine is the main character in this movie. Really liked him. He plays kind of like this guy who used to be a bit more honorable. Now he is more of a kind of scoundrel or whatever. But he's trying to, find his way again, trying to set things straight. He has a daughter, so we kind of get that angle from his character where he's trying to do things good for her. And I just enjoyed him overall. I liked his motivations. I liked the jokes with him and the way he was written. I thought he was a very entertaining protagonist. You also have, Justice Smith, who has been in a couple of movies over the last couple of years, playing the sorcerer who is sort of unsure of himself, doesn't believe in his powers or anything. He thinks he's weak and not good at what he does. Liked, the stuff with his character. Again, good humor, good moments. Michelle Rodriguez plays, like, the tough warrior of the group, and she was really good in the movie. I thought the fight sequences with her were entertaining. And then you have more characters. One can transform her into different animals, which made this really awesome sequence in the film where she's escaping and she's just turning into all these different creatures to escape. It was well filmed. It was well put together. And the movie definitely has those set pieces throughout it, which are just really exciting to witness. As for issues I had with the movie, I didn't have too many. There was maybe a few times where the characters would sort of be in a situation where it seems like, all hope is lost or they're kind of done with things, and they'd find a way out of it. And sometimes the way they'd find a way out of it, the writing was just a little too quick. It's like, oh, okay, they just have this item which will get them out of this situation, or they can do this. And it just kind of felt a little bit plot armory at times with the way these characters would kind of just get out of these situations. I also thought that sometimes in the first half more so, the way it was structured got a little repetitive, where it would just be this character's introduced, then they're going to go have a dialogue scene in like a pub, and then go and find the next character. They're in a pickle, get them out of it in 2 minutes, go to another pub and have a dialogue scene. It kind of had that sort of structure for a while, so it just got a little bit repetitive, but I still enjoyed what was going on. I still liked what was being offered with the characters and the writing and everything. It just got a little bit, to the point where you just knew where things were going to go. But still, not huge complaints. They're just things I wanted to bring up, because I can't say that this movie's perfect, because it isn't, but, still enjoyable from start to finish. The effects, are solid as well. This is a movie that has a $150 million budget, which is pretty huge. Unfortunately, it seems like the movie is kind of bombing at the box office, so I doubt we'll get a sequel, which is unfortunate, because I didn't think I would say this, but I honestly would watch another one of these. I had a lot of fun. But yeah, because the budget is so high, the effects are pretty solid. There's a few moments that look a little questionable, but there's definitely some parts that look good. You can tell the movie tries its best to use practical effects when it can, so there's some creature designs and different races and species or whatever, who have really cool practical effects like makeup and just creature work and stuff. There's some puppet things that you can tell is puppetry, which I really like, and animatronics, because so often nowadays we're just used to CGI, and when movies have lower budgets, which this film doesn't, that can lead to issues. But here, they took advantage of what they were given, and they gave us good effects when they needed to use them, and then really good practical effects when they had the chance. So I really liked seeing that. It was nice change of pace from some other films. And just overall, enjoyable. I'm kind of repeating a lot of the same things. I have a bit of a headache. My allergies are quite bad right now, so I might sound a little nasally as well. As for some of the things I thought were funny, there's this one sequence where they're in this graveyard that was absolutely hilarious. I won't say what happens in the scene, but that was definitely the funniest part of the movie for me, the way that everything went down there. It was quite entertaining. So yeah, definitely just the entire time I was having a lot of fun with this film. I also forgot to mention Hugh Grant's in this, and his character was great. He plays a very kind of slimy character who I just really enjoyed. He played that character so well, very arrogant, and enjoyed him a lot. And towards the end of the movie, there's some character stuff that happens that I really liked. I thought it was well done and honestly somewhat emotionally engaging, which I wasn't expecting. So yeah, overall, well done to the people who made this. You turned somebody who has zero interest in D&D into not a fan of D&D as a whole, but definitely some person who really enjoyed this movie and had a lot of fun with it. So go check out this film. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It was a blast. The action sequences are really good. The sword fights in this movie were pretty well done. There was definitely some solid choreography and whatever you want to call it in there. I was consistently entertained, which I was not expecting. So there you have it. Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. Check the movie out. It is worth seeing it, in my opinion. Even if you're some person who is not a D&D player, I think you'll have fun if you somewhat enjoy fantasy stuff. If you have zero interest in fantasy stuff whatsoever, probably not going to be up your alley. But otherwise, if you're somebody who for example, can watch Lord of the Rings and get behind that, you might be able to get behind this. So thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.